Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Reaper podcast. I know last week now, we promised a look at the Space Wolves this week. However, what we are going to do, because our glorious president, El Presidente, is on holiday, and we want him to stay actually on holiday.
Oh my god.
As fun as it would be to be looking at, like, I don't know, Universal Studios or wherever in the background as he's doing a podcast, we want him to have a good holiday. So what we're going to do this week is we have the amazing Fulvio here, who is going to talk about his Chaos list, his Chaos Marines list. And as always, Kier is here as well to ask the questions, all the important questions about the list. So without further ado, because if anything that last week told us about, we really dive into these lists. So we need as much time as possible to really get a good conversation going. So I'm going to pass over to you, Fulvio. So just introduce your list. Just start wherever you like.
Right, sure. Right. Welcome, everyone, to the Eye of Terror. Right. My list is... I'll start straight to the list because it's quite straightforward, I would say. So I have Abaddon, which is the warlord, obviously. Is together with Cyhper, is a lone operative that does shenanigans. I have a Dark Commune as well, which is a unit of 5 cultists, which are a bit more than normal cultists. And a Warpsmith, that's the last of the leaders. Then I have, as Battleline, just 1 unit of 10 cultists, because everyone needs chuff. They are marked NURGLE. I'll get to the marks in a second. What else? We have 8 Accursed cultists, because they go well with another unit. 3 Chaos Bikers to do action and shenanigans. They are marked Undivided as well. Usual brick of 10 Chaos Terminators, and I'll get down to that. It's tough, but it's quite expensive. 3 Forgefiends, because I own 3, and why not? As the best unit in the Codex at the moment. 1 Helbrute, which is... the Forgefiend are marked NURGLE, and a Helbrute, which is marked Undivided. He has a Fist with a Flamer and a Lascannon, basically just a very, very basic Helbrute. And then I have an allied, couple of allied units, 6 Tzeentch Flamer and 3 Tzeentch Flamers, which are there to do stuff, and they're not that bad, actually. Right, that's the list. Starting with a bit of lore, actually. Now I'm going to show with pride my first miniature. Obviously, you won't see it on the podcast, but if you see the YouTube studio video, is like the oldest miniature I ever owned. I think it's one of the first miniature I ever owned when I started the hobby, like more than 10 years ago. I ended up buying a box of a Battle Force of Chaos, I think it was called at the time. So you had like the cultist, I think it was like Berserkers, a Rhino, and something else. And then I bought a blister, because at the time I used to buy the blister with the pewter characters, and it was Abaddon, and I fell in love with Abaddon and its lore since, even if someone calls it fail Abaddon.
Give us a better look at him, man. I want to see that. Give us a better look at Abaddon.
It's so tiny, honestly. He used to break like every now and then.
That's sick, though.
It's just, yeah.
In fairness, if I was Abaddon, I'd be having breakdowns as well, so...
He's a good boy. Right, so a bit of introduction to the lore.
This is like the most grumpy, angry man ever. In all the lore, I don't know an angrier man than Abaddon. He's angry all the time.
He's the best boy. It's less grumpy than
some fucking haircut
Angron
as well, by the way. Some haircut.
Yeah. Guys, the top knot is so post-apocalyptic. Honestly, top knot. If I could,
it's just top knot though. There's nothing else. There's no sides. There's no sauce. Right? It's literally just a lump of top knot on your plate, and you're gonna eat it.
That is your next Halloween costume, Kier.
Don't, because did you see my Tau one last year?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah,
it was. I managed to actually top knot up with the pink hair dye for Shadow Sun.
Amazing.
Yeah, something.
Kier was like actually blue, Tau blue. It was amazing to see.
Painted myself blue, and I made a robe out of an old IKEA throw with some safety pins to hold it together.
You do what you've got to do to win.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Sorry, I'll let you get back into the Black Legion.
That's all right. We were at the point where we said that Abaddon is the best boy. Right. Well, long story short, really, the Black Legion is my favorite part of the Chaos Space Marines. Actually, Space Marine is just like Chaos Space Marines are just like a wider faction of small warbands and stuff. They just basically fight each other all the time. But only Abaddon can join them all together and make from a cohesive force that can take actually the war to the Imperium. They are basically the heir of the old Sons of Horus, or Luna Wolves before that, which was the 16th Legion, created by the Emperor of Mankind. They fell to Chaos, obviously, or I would say they switched side to the better one. And they decided to topple the Emperor. Obviously, nothing went exactly as planned, or as we might, I don't know, spoiler alert. So they had to run into the Eye of Terror, and now they're basically based on a fleet of ship, in which they have, between all the others, they have the Vengeful Spirit, obviously, which is Horus Former's Gloriana class battleship, which was one of the few still operative in the 41st millennium, I think, and is like a very, very strong and amazing vessel, honestly. So lots of shenanigans in there.
I love all the names for the ships in 40k. Yeah. I think they're all the names for the ships are so good. Like listening to the Night Lords books, like the Covenant of Blood, sensational, absolutely amazing. Sensational. Echoes of Damnation, yeah, brilliant,
amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah. What else can I say? Well, as I mentioned, Abaddon usually joins all these fractures warbands all together, promising or giving like stuff to each one. Like, I don't know, you want like this relic for incredible power? There you go, just join me, and off we go. He launched 13 Black Crusade. Someone say that they all failed, but actually, in the end, the last one managed to destroy Cadia. So I think it was quite a good one. And so at the moment, the situation is that the whole Imperium is fractured by this massive Cicatrix Maledictum is called, which is basically a tear in real space where the warp spills in, and basically is blocking the Imperium, part of the Imperium, like from any sort of interspace travel or any sort of thing. So it's a nice, interesting situation, and we'll see what we get from there in the lore. Right. We go back to the army. The army has a army rule and a detachment rule. So the army rules are two. The first one is Dark Pacts, which, as usual, GW likes to phrase in a particular way. So basically, every unit can make a Dark Pact. You declare it. You just choose then if you get lethal hits or sustain it 1. You resolve your shots, and then at the end you do a leadership check. If you fail it, you take these 3 mortal wounds, because GW loves chaos, right? Fine, okay, we'll deal with it. So you might end up like not passing the pact or the leadership check, and obviously, yeah, you just hurt yourself, but it's fine. That's fine. We have 2 wounds now, finally. The other rule is the Lost at the Damned. Basically, it's just a wee rule bit that says that you can add any specific cult unit to your army up to 500 points. So cult units are obviously Khorne Berserkers, the Rubric Marines of the Thousand Sons, and the Plague Marines for NURGLE, for the NURGLE, the Death Guard. There you go. Who else is? Yes, technically you could add Noise Marines, but they're not specifically mentioned, I think. Yeah, because probably they're going to get a new release at some point of an own codex, which is fair enough. But you can get them. They're just quite good, actually, I think. Going to the detachment rule, the detachment rule is Slaves to Darkness, which means that you can get a mark for free now on every unit. So basically, every unit is dedicated to a Chaos God, or can be dedicated to the Pantheon, which is Undivided. They get extra bonus for every Dark Pact that they do if they're marked. Let's say the marked Khorne, they get, if they select lethal hits, they happen on the fight phase on a 5+. If they're marked Tzeentch, if they selected lethal hits in the shooting phase, they 5 and 6s become critical hits, and so on. NURGLE and Slaanesh, they only work if you choose sustained hits instead. So NURGLE in the shooting phase, you get sustained hits on a 5+, so basically they're exploding better in the shooting phase. As Slaanesh, the same, sustained hits on a 5+ in the combat phase, which was they obviously fight better than their pals. Yeah, so that is very.
What about Undivided?
Undivided gets rerolling once to. Oh my god, I forgot Undivided. Sorry, I'm an Undivided guy, and I forgot Undivided.
That's okay.
Undivided,
Actually, it's the one that I also can't remember, so that's why I'm asking.
Undivided is, yes, you reroll a hit roll of 1 when you make an attack, so it's like generic. You reroll a hit roll of 1.
Reliable.
Which is
Works all the time.
Absolutely. It's not bad. It's not bad. Right. So, I'll go quickly to the list and explain. I mean, at least is how it works. I had a couple of games. One was absolutely horrible against Elder. I just removed bits and it was over by turn 2. The other one was on stream with you here. By the way, if you want to watch a nice, decent battle report, go on YouTube.
If you want to see me get absolutely punked on the internet by this man in the middle, then feel free to watch that game. If you want to watch me try and contain my levels of salt for the Tau changes, watch that game. That's another episode.
And we'll put,
I did Rat Corner this week.
And we will put a link to that stream as well, just in the description below on both the Spotify and on that YouTube. So please go and watch that. It is a very good game. Laugh at the Tau.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to laugh at the Tau, right? Until they get the new codex and they just like shoot you to bits from round 0, and that would be.
I remember
fun.
this.
Yeah,
I remember this. You're both.
I know you will. Jeez. Right. Okay. So back to the list. So we have Abaddon. Abaddon is like the man, the myth, the legend, you might say. He's very good because he's a massive centerpiece for the army. He just provides lots of bonus. He is good in combat. I mean, it's not as good as it was before, but we don't talk about what it was before. We're now in the present. He has a CP regen, because if you pass a leadership check, which in his case is a leadership of 5+, you get on a 2+, then you need to roll another dice because GW. You get a CP, which is always good. And he has an aura with 3 effects. The first one you can choose is a 4-up invulnerable save 6 inches from him, not his unit. Check it out. The second one is reroll leadership and battle shock test, which is kind of good for the Dark Pacts issue that I mentioned earlier. And the last one is the one that I always use personally, is the reroll all the hits roll in a 6 inches aura, because it's just so good. You just reroll all the hits roll, and it makes it much more reliable. Some people say it works with obliterators as well, particularly well. I have issues with obliterators, and we get to that later. What else? Then we have Cyhper. Cyhper is a Dark Angel character. He's a fallen. Maybe he's not. We don't know. GW is very weird about it. He's okay. He's a lone operative. Again, it cannot be shot outside 12 inches. But most importantly, he has you call it Vect. Basically, you can increase once per game an enemy stratagem of 1 CP. You can change the stratagem cost of 1 CP. Sorry, I rephrased that. You can increase the stratagem of your enemy once per game for 1 CP, which means your stratagem is Overwatch if you're a Tau player. Now it becomes 2 CPs and so forth and so on.
How does that interact with free stratagems from like the captain on Space Marines?
I believe there is a commentary on the rules that says first you multiply, then you divide, then you add and subtract, or something like that. So basically, if you make it 0, it just becomes 1. So you increase by 1. I think.
Cool.
I need to double check, but yeah, it's quite okay. It's quite expensive, but 105 points is quite good because it's the only way we can get it. I mean, unless you get a greater bird demon, is quite a good thing to have, I think, in a list these days. Then what we have the Dark Commune. The Dark Commune is a unit of 5 Cultist characters. They're quite good because they have a 5-up invulnerable save for whatever reason, and they can attach to, usually with Accursed Cultists, because the Accursed Cultists are good on their own, and this combo is quite nice, as Kier might know, because the Accursed Cultists come back to life every command phase, so you can regenerate them. And in this combo with the Dark Commune, they get a 5-up invulnerable save, they regen, and they get a 6-up feel no pain. And on top of that one, the Dark Commune can make the unit for once per game advance and charge and give him +1 to hit and +1 to wound, which on the Cursed Cultist Big Gribblies, which are called the Mutants, I think, is quite good. Because they hit incredibly hard for 95 points. Yeah.
The mutants, aka the definitely not Chaos Spawn.
No, they're not Chaos Spawn yet. They're Chaos Spawn. The models are amazing, by the way. If you don't know them, just go on the website and check them out. It's one of the new units that have been released, and they're really, really cool. They're really cool. You can basically park them on an objective.
Sick. And actually the Dark Commune also.
Yeah. It's quite nice. It's very chaosy. You have all the stuff in there. You have the people with the blade, like the bodyguards. You have a guy with he has a pole with an icon which is flaming skulls and stuff. It's very chaosy. I love it. Very metal. The Dark Commune goes together with a Accursed Cultist. And finally I have a Warpsmith, which is one of the weird jank that my friend Kier taught me. Just put something that like no one thinks is right, is good, and just pop him in the list, and people will be like, what does he do? So the Warpsmith, he gets lone operative when he's within 3 inches of a vehicle, which is amazing. It's not game changing. It's not like an incredible bit, but it's quite good because it gives the Forgefiend, in the case, because he will be like surrounded by his Forge friends. It gives one Forgefiend in the command phase a +1 to hit, which means that the Forgefiend will hit on a 2+. And it can heal D3 wounds on the same vehicle within 3 inches, so it kind of keeps them alive a bit longer, since in my list I'm going so hard on demon engines, basically. Or the good ones, not all of them. Right, what else? We have 1 unit of 10 cultists, because they're just sticky objectives, and they are marked NURGLE. There's a nice stratagem we can get later. 3 Chaos Bikers, which, honestly, I'm happy to pay 95 points for 3 bikers. They're quite fast, and they just do actions. And toughness 5, they're 3 wounds each. They're not bad. They're really, really not bad. They're just annoying to deal with. Then the heavy lifting is made by, as we said, Abaddon and a unit of 10 Chaos Terminators. They have 9 Combiweapons, 3 Power Fists, 2 Chainfists. The nice thing is that if they are together with Abaddon, they get all the marks, so you can use all the stratagems on them. And, as we learned during the game, you get all the benefits of the marks when you do a Dark Pact, which with Abaddon, doing a Dark Pact on a 5+.
But
yes, Kier.
We need to remember that when you do your Dark Pact, we need to select if we want sustained or lethal. And we don't get sustained and lethal on 5-ups all the time.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
Because it's quite good.
Yeah, it's quite
like
good.
5 of your guys walked into my hammerhead and just punched it to death. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, they're Terminators. I mean, that's what they do. I mean, it's 390 points. It's really expensive as a unit.
Yeah, it's true. And plus Abaddon too. It's like 700 points. Yeah,
it's
fair
quite
enough.
a lot, which is one of the issues I have with the list. Is like I would like to run it without Abaddon, even if he's my man. Sorry, Abby, but it's just so expensive, so expensive. Anyway, then what else do we have? We have 3 Forgefiends. Forgefiends are really, really good for Chaos Marines at the moment. They are a shooting units. They shoot really, really well because they have D3 shots each, so they have 3 D3 shots because obviously you get them with the plasma. Strength 10, the Ep.3, damage 3, and they can get devastating wounds and blast obviously on the 3D3s, which is really, really good again. I mark them NURGLE, so they explode on 5s. So if they get like a brick of, I don't know, looking at you, Nick, I would say a brick of 20 Gene Stealer cults, whatever they're called, they technically should get rid. One can get rid of the brick quite reliably.
Well, that's good. They won't come back, I promise.
I know that they always do. They always do.
Is that like... So would that be 7 D3 shots against a 20-man unit?
It would be 3
It is
D3.
blast D3 because it's D3 for every 5 in the unit. So wow.
No. It's D3. So it's +1 every 5 men in the unit. So if he has a 20-man unit, it would be 4 plus 3 D3.
Sorry, I thought you said blast D3. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, everyone is blast D3.
Oh, right, because in that case...
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, my God.
Yeah. 7 D3
so
shots.
7 D3 shots is a lot of...
Right, it's even better than I thought.
But
Cool.
it's painful for an army that doesn't come back.
Yeah.
It's true. Actually, to be honest, even for an army that does come back.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
For one guy to stoke round the corner and fire, what is that, like 14 on average?
Jeez.
Tank shots into your infantry squad with exploding 6s.
Yes, that's rough.
Yeah, I did not realize that. It's absolutely true. It's D3 shots each one, and it's blast. Oh my God.
Can you imagine if you pitched up with your Abaddon and Terminator brick against another CSM list?
Yeah.
Because that'd be, what, an 11-man unit? So it'd be 5 D3 shots per Forgefiend into the brick. Oof.
And every failed one of us is a dead Terminator because it's damage 3. Yeah, it's just absolutely...
Wounds on 2s as well. Takes you to your invuln through cover.
It's absolutely obnoxious. Well, maybe, yeah, we'll see how many Forgefiend G-Dubs sells before they nerf them, but... Sig. Well, anyway, is a journey of discovery, right? The last it's not a demon engine, sorry, is the last vehicle in the unit is a Helbrute. The Helbrute is fine, honestly. I don't think it's broken at all. It's just fine. It's under 55 points. He's doing stuff. He's just shooting a bit. The good thing that he does is then when a unit within 9 inches of him does a Dark Pact, they get both lethal hits and sustain hits, which is really, really good. It's just a buffing piece, honestly. Does a bit of shooting. It's okay.
I think, like, at this point, like, the pattern we're kind of seeing is that you have, like, a lot of force multipliers that you can really throw around the heavy lifters, Forgefiends and the Terminator brick, right? Yeah. And then you have tech pieces on the side.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it's saying to me anyway.
Yeah, the first time I saw the index, I was like, oh, well, so all Dark Pacts, so it's better if you do like multiple small units, like 5 units Legionnaires and there. But actually, you can reliably buff like big units, like the you mentioned that. So, yeah, we'll see how long it lasts. It's still an index. We get the codex at some point, but we'll see what happens. Right, finally, I have 2 allied units. Units of 6 Tzeentch Flamers and 3 Tzeentch Flamers. They're quite good because they have a D6 shots of Flamer shots of Torrent, which is Strength 4, AP 1, Damage 1. They can do actions. They move 9 inches. They are infantry, but they fly. So they're quite a nice skirmisher unit for like 75 points for 5. No, sorry, 65 points for 3. Is a nice piece of kit, I think. I might just change the numbers in the future, maybe do 2 units of 3 and do actions and stuff, because I deep strike normally, because they're demons.
But they're easy to shift in combat, right? Because they only have the 6-up demon save, and they can't fall back and shoot.
No, they are much improved, actually. Well, some might say, oh, well, they used to have a 3-up invulnerable save. I'm like, yes, but now they have a 4-up. Nevertheless, 4-up in combat, 4-up in shooting is reliable. Like, it's good. Plus, they can fall back
I'll take that any day.
Yeah, me too.
That is a huge change, man.
Yeah.
That's such a big deal, because now it's like... So, even when I played Town in Demons before, I would just charge my crisis suits or whatever into the flamethrowers through the wall, because they were infantry, RIP.
Lol.
And then you couldn't fall back and shoot. That'd just be that. If you weren't playing Disciples of Bellicor, that unit of 6 flamers is just doing nothing. But now it's just... They don't care.
Yeah. You know, all of these stuff takes me back really to 7th, actually to 8th edition, because all these rules, like the abilities of the units, were kind of the same in 8th. And you could use the flamers like I used to do before. And I really didn't like when they changed them in 9th. Even if they were overpowered with the amount of shots. But it's not bad. Overall, well, sorry, I'll go to the stratagem and the combos in a second. If you have any questions on the list.
Yes.
Do you want to go first, Kier?
Yeah, I was going to say, so Cyhper, lone operative. Is he the only lone operative that CSM have access to? Okay,
it is.
Cool. By the way, I really, really like this list, and I love that Cyhper is in it as well. It's not feedback, it's just a comment.
Yeah. It's quite expensive, but it's the only way you can get lone operative, Sorry,
so
Nick.
my question to you, Fulvio, is how do you go about writing your lists? What do you think about? Do you just kind of put anything in it? What's your process for theory craft or list crafting, essentially? Like, are you looking for combos? Are you looking for other stratagems and basing them around that? Like, what was your process of pulling this list together?
Right. So, first of all, we are still in the index phase. It's still like a new edition, so I'm really at the moment not really theory crafting too much. I'm just like putting stuff in the list and see how it performs. Stuff might change. Again, I might take Abaddon out at some point and the Terminators, because I'm really allergic at spending 700 points, which is a third of your army, a fourth of your army. Into those just a single brick, which I don't think is tough, but it's not as tough as you would pay for. But that's just my idea. How do I make the list? I honestly thought about this one, just try to check and see what happens if I run the 3 Forgefiends and then start from there. Because it's a very shooting heavy meta at the moment, so you just want something that shoots and is a vehicle, possibly, so it's quite hard to shift. I thought about Havocs, which are quite good as well. They have Lascannons and they're cheap as well. But then you add only 30 points on top, and you get a Forgefiend, which is a vehicle. It's toughness 10. He has a 3-up, a 5-up. It's all like stacks, and then all the 14 wounds and the even OC3 is not bad. He has an invulnerable again. I think the invulnerable is like what shifts it for me, which makes it like the math a bit more skewed in I might survive with 2 or 3 wounds. And then I thought, well, what if I put someone that can heal this Forgefiend? Well, I would like to put, like, I don't know, someone might be interesting, like attack marine or whatever we call it. We would have Warpsmith. It would be cool if Vashtor would be better than that, but we'll get to that in a moment. And then
I think
you
to
just
add
go
to
from
that
there.
as well, you can do some cheeky stuff with that Warpsmith.
Yeah.
Because he essentially has the bodyguard rule. Remember bodyguards?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Lone Operative obviously doesn't take the side that you're getting shot from into account.
Yeah.
So if you had your Forgefiend behind some kind of wall, and he was on the other side of the wall on an objective, you couldn't shoot him unless you're within 12. You can do some really gamey stuff like that.
That is true. That's true.
And also, that model is super sick, so why wouldn't you run it? It's a really, really cool model.
That's cool. I started as a Iron Warrior. My first army was Iron Warrior with Abaddon in it. And then I still have my heart still melts for the Warpsmith because it's really, really cool. Honestly, and then from there, honestly, you just look whatever is decent for that price. For example, I thought Legionnaires were quite good, but then you just 100 points for 5. They're not super tough. They don't do much in 5. What can I put in it? Flamers. Flamers are cheaper. They do actions. They're infantry. They shoot better. Just put the Flamers in it. And then you get from there. I would like to have a bit more combat in the army. I like Possessed in general, but I don't know. I don't feel very well about combat at the moment. It's just a bit disappointing. All this weird shenanigans. You need to roll the charge, and then if you're not within base combat, you cannot fight. If you're fighting through a wall, it's a mess. It's just disappointing. Speaking as a World Eaters player as well. So, yeah. Honestly, at the moment, I think we're all kind of trying to find what sticks to the wall in a sense. So this might work with some armies, might not work against some others. It's just an experimental phase, I guess, until the meta shifts a bit more onto something stable and more recognizable. Because at the moment you have Eldar that just destroy you, and Knights that they can see you everywhere and they just shoot you to bits. It's just weird. It's just a weird moment.
Yeah, no, definitely. And a perfect place to test that list out is going to be at the Reaper Wargaming League. For all you members, that is open right now to sign up for, so please sign yourself up for a league. A really good way just to do competitive without having to do a full day of Warhammer or go to a tournament, which can be pretty draining. This gives you that taste of competitiveness without having to be at a tournament, and it also gives you a ability for you tournament players to test lists out, because everyone is playing competitively. There'll be loads of different armies there as well, so it just gives you a test gives you a place to just try it out.
And if League isn't your thing, and you're more of a player who enjoys the narrative, then if you're really quick with your list submission, I would suggest speaking to my good friend Sam and my other friend David Brown. And we are running a crusade starting in August. I think the date for the backstories to be in is the end of the month. I have submitted mine. I actually have in front of me, for all of you YouTube viewers, my little nameplates. I can't really see it very well on my webcam. But if you come down to the club, you'll be able to see them when we're playing Crusade nights.
Nice.
So that's for my warlord, Hazar the Enlightened. I've got it done in a runic font. It's ready to get glued around his base. The Crusade's going to be absolutely sick, man. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And we're starting at 500 points. It's going to be escalating, I think, all the way up to 2,000 is the plan. I know Sam's been working very, very hard, getting a lot of narrative sort of plot hooks and stuff written. And actually, I think he's writing a plot hook minimum for each faction. One minimum for each faction, which is a crazy amount of work. So huge props to him.
Yeah,
and
good job.
Really looking forward to that.
But yes, sorry, Fulvio, go back in.
There you go. No, I mean, if I might add, Crusade is very good for you beginners, guys. If you want to start with 500 points, which is roughly a starter kit, a starter box, whatever they call now, just go in. You don't need the painted points either. It's just a Crusade point, just like small games. So, bam, you get your game in, you get a grip with the rules, and then you just keep going from there. And you build your narrative, which is part of the hobby. You just start painting them. Oh, this guy killed, 10 Necron Warriors. Just put 10 small skulls of Necron Warriors on the basin. That you have part of the story already represented. Nice. Going back to the Eye of Terror, as I mentioned, I'll just close the review of the list quickly with some combos and stratagems. So thankfully, we don't have too many stratagems to remember, which is, I love it, honestly love it. So, as I mentioned, Abaddon is the centerpiece of the army. It just gives the rerolls in 6 inches of him, so everything gets rerolls. It can be quite annoying to shift together with these 10 bodyguards. It's very Black Legion-y, guys. So they used to just go there and strike to the heart and just kill the general of the army, and that's it. That's the battle finished. A very essential tip of the spear. That's it. A very essential stratagem for the army is the NURGLE stratagem, which is called Dark Obscuration. We discussed on the phrasing on this one, but then the commentary came out, and apparently when a unit is marked NURGLE and you play the stratagem, if the unit is selected as the target of an enemy attack but is more than 12 inches away, you cannot shoot that unit, so you need to reselect another unit, which is very good if you want to keep alive your 3 Forgefiends, your Cultists as well, because I marked them NURGLE, or if you want to keep alive the Brick of Terminators and it's 12 inches away, they can survive for 1 turn unscathed, which is really nice. Very chaosy. What else we have? We have some bits that we can do with Skin Shift as well. Skin Shift is another very good stratagem. Is a normal stratagem, but then does most stuff if you're marked with Tzeentch. So Skin Shift usually heals 3 wounds on any unit in the army. If you're a Tzeentch unit, it returns a model to the army. So if you have like 10 Terminators which are marked of Tzeentch as well, you can just return 1 Terminator for 1 CP, which is really good. There's not really much to say, to be honest. It's quite a well internally balanced codex. Everything is working fine. Is a decent primary control with some units. You can go on the objectives and just like get the objective done and sticky with the Cultist or the Accursed Cultist and just like regenerate on the objective. You can keep reliably 2 or 3 objectives in the game. You can do some shooting. You have some combat as well if you wanna like lean that way with Possessed, which are really, really good. Although a bit more expensive than what I would pay for, but yeah, I think they can really do much. Not many shenanigans. It's quite a straightforward army. It's good for beginners, I would say, and even expert players. But if you like spikes, if you like skulls, you're in the right place. Just come and join us, and let's start the 14th Black Crusade, I say.
And if you hate the Empire,
well, of course,
you should join us.
My primary motivation for being on the Chaos team is not enjoying chaos. It's just hating the Emperor, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
What a deadbeat. Go on.
Yes,
just to touch on it as well, like you're saying you have like decent primary control with this list. That is, I think, an understatement, because Abaddon's giving you lots of CP back, so you can really blow those strats. And the ability to bring the Terminator back, right, 2 inches away from the unit or so, and then to be able to spend a command point, as they also have the Mark of Slaanesh, to advance and charge the Terminators, you can really, really shift with that unit. Because you can, I mean, the Terminator base is what, 40 mils?
It is a 40,
plus, like, let's say 2 centimeters. So, like, let's call it, you gain 60 mils, so like 2 and a bit inches of ground there. And then you can roll an advance. If you're looking for like 3.5 as a normal advance, that's like basically plus 6 to your charge, right?
Yeah.
When you bring a model back. Really, really nice.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. It's good against some armies, and some others they are faster, like, I don't know, Drukhari. I'm thinking about Dark Elder. I'm thinking about the Grey Knights as well. They can just teleport and do shenanigans around you. They can teleport, like, 3 inches away from you.
Yeah, something mad like that.
Yeah.
Do you think it would have trouble against, like, units that can make a move after you finish a move within 9 of them?
Absolutely. That is really annoying. The Griblies, the Small Tyrannids have it as well. the Thermaguns, but I mean, you're not
Yep.
really scared about Thermaguns, but
It's annoying though, because if you just end up in the middle of nowhere,
yeah, exactly. You
like,
just
it's just the inability to steal that movement, right? Like,
you need to be very clever in that case and kind of surround the unit so they cannot go anywhere. But again, if you do it against Eldar, they have like 2 or 3 ways of going away without you being able to connect, and that's the problem of the army. This problem of every like close combat army and slowish army, like Chaos in general. Not ideal, but
What would you say that GW needed to change the combat rules the way that they have for melee? Or is it kind of like a frustration? Because I feel like there was a few things that GW went in to change that didn't really need to be changed. I'm thinking of maybe melee for one. Having experienced a few editions, it'd be good to get your view on that. And the other one being not being able to finish moves on top of objective markers, just like stuff that has very little bearing on the game, and if anything, just makes it more complex and salty, and people getting upset during games and stuff like that. Like, what's your view on the melee specific one, Fulvio?
Yeah, the melee is really, really annoying. So I played World Eaters when they dropped at the end of 9th edition, till the end, basically. And melee was strong, but it wasn't over complicated like it is now. Melee was very strong in 8th edition. They fixed some of the shenanigans in 9th, and I think 9th was the kind of the perfect balance. Because you had flying units that can still mean something in the movement phase with the fly keywords. I think now they just change for the sake of change. That's my impression. It just doesn't really, with the amount of shooting you have in. So I'll do the comparison with AOS, for example, right? So where everything is melee and there's a bit of shooting, but there's not much around. In that case, melee is king, and you just like basically stay in melee forever. If they wanted to do the same thing with 40k, I think they failed, because the melee is not as strong as. You might get in there, you might get your 10 Terminators versus 10 Terminators and stay there for 5 turns, not a problem. But it's so awkward and complicated, the fact that you need to. First of all, you need to roll exactly the distance you need, otherwise you can go around, you cannot consolidate any more than that, you just cannot bring those many units in combat. So basically, like, if you have a units of 10 guys, 5 are fighting, another 5 are just like, I'll just enjoy the show, honestly. I just like stay here with popcorns and just wait for my pals to get butchered. What's the point? Doesn't work for me. It's a shame, because it's overly complicated. I think for a new player as well, is a really, really steep learning curve to manage and to master, especially. It's just not worth changing from 9th edition, in my opinion. I prefer it much, much more as it was before.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's just, I never found melee to be an issue. I never felt like 9th was a melee heavy experience for me. And I think one of the things that was good was they changed vehicles to have a little bit more impact in melee, because it did feel a bit crazy that you'd have these tiny things like prodding at like a tank, but the tank would not do anything to them. So at least now there are like things that tanks and vehicles can do. But yeah, I agree with you as well. All the consolidation stuff is a bit strange, and you can't go further around if you can touch, because you have to touch first. And like they say, they're trying to make it more accessible, but now everyone's like, well, no one's going to bother doing melee.
Yeah.
One, because no one can be bothered doing it, and 2, because it's just less effective. And I feel like keeping it the same way as 9th would have had a really nice balance with the abilities, would have had quite a nice balance between melee and shooting in this edition, but maybe just missed the mark a little bit there.
Yeah,
I think it's a big whiff. I think that like it's so much more complicated than it needs to be. it was a little bit chilly. Sorry, not chilly. A little bit like silly.
Chilly
as
like
well.
that. It was
In
cold.
ninth,
It
it was chilly because there
It
was,
was cool.
you get a cold reception for doing it.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
but for example, if I charge my Termagants into your tank or whatever, you've not a hope of killing me in combat. But all I had to do was move one into combat with the tank, and the other 9 could just move up to the distance I'd rolled in the charge. So I could like string them out and take an objective over here when I charged you over here. That was silly. I think
Yes.
they're trying to combat that, but I
Okay.
think they've absolutely butchered it. They've done a horrible job. I think if you'd said that every model in the unit must end their charge closer to the target of the charge than they started, then I think that makes a bit more sense. Because then you still have to charge towards what you're going for instead of spreading out. But without all this absolute rubbish about having to pile in, and yeah, it's a bit silly. I always thought it was like a skill thing, being able to steal that movement with consolidate and pile in. I think that room for skill in a game is a great thing because
Yes.
it means that you always have somewhere to go and aspire to be with regards to learning. But like, I think this sucks. And also the consolidate changes, you can only consolidate into more combat. Why would I
Yes.
do that?
Yeah.
Like most of it, like, okay, I get it. Sometimes you want to tag a unit, fine. But most of the time you're just going to get slapped back by something that you didn't get to fight. It's a bit silly.
Yeah.
Also, question. You can fight things that you didn't charge now, right?
Yes, absolutely yes.
Yeah. With,
Don't like that.
yeah.
Don't
with
like that
heroic
at all.
intervention and stuff, right?
No. Like, if you charge something and pile into something else, I think you can fight it.
You can. Yep.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that's mad.
You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like you don't even have to like calculate the risk of making a longer charge into more opportune targets. You're like, well, I'll do the one close to me, and if I get good enough, I'll just end up in to where I want it to be. That's silly. Yeah, revoke the fight changes, please. Just silly.
Yeah, and I think like what you were saying there, Kier, they've taken away that good skill of how to play competitively because being able to do stuff like pile in, but then once you've killed a unit, consolidate around onto tag an objective, or even during the pile in, tag the objective, and even if they don't kill you, but you don't kill them, you've still kind of tagged the objective. Stuff like that is not. I never felt like, oh, what a gotcha. I was like, oh, that was clever. Like it was like a clever move, and I like clever movement and clever use of rules, and that's what that felt like. It never felt like I didn't know you could do that because everyone knows those rules. It's not like I didn't know that you could heroically intervene within 6 if you're Space Wolves, or you could do X, Y, or Z because you're this ability. Like it was something that everyone knows, and it's like, oh, that was clever what you did there. And it's like an appreciation of it, and it kind of like dumbed it down a little bit and then added other stupid stuff like you were saying there.
Now, I think if they honestly implemented the same fight system they had before into this game, except made it so that you had to be closer to the target once you finished the charge than you started, I think that fighting would be, like, combat would be in a much better place. But right now, like, shooting is king for a reason. And, like, it's because it's really hard to play combat well.
Yeah, well, 100%. Yeah. My question for you, Fulvio, around your Chaos right now. How well do you think Chaos in their rules and their stratagems hit the fluff of the lore? For people that love the lore, love the story, how well does the army rules now represent that?
For me, it's I would say either 9 or 10 by 10 on 10. It's like very, very fluffy. The fact that you need to do a Dark Pact so you can like ask for the help of a demon, and that demon might help you, but then it might stab you in the back, is so fluffy, and I really, really like it. It's a good change, and I think I like it. I think it's probably 10 out of 10, yeah.
Right. And what I like about that Dark Pact one as well is the idea that when he does help you, it's really powerful. It's like powerful, and it's the choice a player needs. But if they don't help you, it hurts you quite a bit. So it's like there is a choice that players need to make around that as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you really need it, you just like go for it, but it might backfire. Obviously, you might, like on a unit of 10 Terminators, you might lose like D3 Mortal Wounds and take like a whole Terminator out of the unit. It's like it hurts a lot, but yeah, it's just so chaos. And honestly, it's fine. It's better than the usual stuff that GW does. That like, so if your unit is an even number, it is the third Wednesday of the month where the moon is high and is full, then you get a +1 to hit, but only if the other unit is 12.5 inches away. Thankfully, it's way more straightforward and allow it.
Yes. Great. So we're coming towards the end, and thank you so much for that list, Fulvio. We now go into everyone's favourite bit, which is rant corner. We can have a rant. We have 10 minutes for a rant this week. So who has a rant? Fulvio, you always have a rant.
I always have a rant, but I don't want to...
Always primed. Yeah.
Mine is always ready.
Right. Do you have a rant?
I'm going first. I don't know how long mine's going to take. Right. I played Tau against Fulvio and I got slapped. And I can't accept that he's played better than me, so I'm going to make up excuses.
Yeah, good.
Now, here's the thing with Tau. We played in a new UKTC format, which is pretty punishing, but I've actually made a list, and I don't made a list for this rant. I was typing, smashing away at my keyboard when I got home, punching the air about the game. And I was typing in our Discord channel. If you're not in the Discord, get in the Discord. It's
Link in the
a great place to talk about 40k.
Down there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It'll all be linked. And what was in the Tau thread, and we're just talking about it, and somebody asked me like what would help them be a bit faster, because they are slow. This is the problem with Tau. Firstly, they got slapped down a bunch of times. The fly changes, instead of just ignoring vertical move distance now, you have to measure flying up and down, which I'm demonstrating for the viewers on YouTube.
That was
unnecessarily. And I bumped my mic a little bit. Sorry. So that is a huge deal, because it means that now, firstly, it's really complicated. And secondly, it's to be honest, with how high a lot of the ruins are that we play on with the UKTC format, it doesn't save you much distance, truth be told. Secondly, battlesuits, the biggest one. Battlesuits are now vehicles, apart from stealthsuits. They can't go through walls. What? This is the dumbest change I've... battlesuits as the infantry that could shoot in combat was fine. It was not like a real big problem, I think. But like now the fact they cannot move through walls, so they have to fly up and over every vehicle. So those L-shaped ruins, the kind of medium ones in the UKTC format, are 4 inches up, 4 inches down, which means that if a crisis suit moves over it, if it is right behind the wall, it will be able to finish its move like a couple of inches in front of the wall, which is kind of just enough to get their base. It's wild. Battlesuit bases are large, and I believe the new changes to terrain mean you cannot finish a move on top of terrain unless your whole base fits on top of it.
Oh my god.
None of the crisis suits really fit on top of any of the UKTC terrain.
Mm-mm.
Which means that I can't even fly up a building to get an angle anymore. I had to fly up and then back down the other side, which, as we've discussed, as I'm a vehicle and I have fly, and the fly has changed, it's kind of a problem. The UKTC format ruins are boarded up on the first floor, which means that I can't even peek through the first floor anymore. I have to go all the way up and all the way back down as I'm a vehicle, and fly has changed. I used to be able to stand on the bottom floor of the ruin and see through it and shoot through it and be shot through it.
Yeah, but don't blame...
But now they're just totally boarded up, which is rough.
Don't blame Chaos, though. You know, we all know who's guilty of that change. Right?
Yeah, I know. So, in addition... Oh, by the way, I'm halfway through my list. All
my God.
Tau weapons lost the assault keyword, pretty much. None of the crisis suit weapons have assault anymore. You have to take a Cold Star Commander for that, which, get this, super dumb. You need to take a Cold Star Commander to give them assault. But the crisis suit's ability, like their whole special feature, is that they auto-advance 6. So if you don't have a Cold Star, if you use your special cool unique ability, you don't get to shoot.
Sad.
Right?
That's hard.
Yeah.
So dumb. It's like an anti-synergy. There's no access to Montcath or remain stationary anymore, which is rough, but also fine. The rules have just changed. The Cold Star can't teleport anymore, and there's no more wall of mirrors to bring stealth suits or ghost kills off the edge of the board and back onto a different one. Really slows the army down. Generally lower movement statistics as well. The Hammerhead's down to a 10-inch move, which in combination with Fly it was rough trying to get the maneuver around. And then the lower ranges on the guns. For example, Fusion Blasters, which are their melta-guns, are down to a 12-inch range, which is brutal, considering they're still only strength 9, so they're still wounding vehicles on 5s. If T10 is like a vehicle. So yeah, that's my rant. Why have you made Tau slow, GW/UKTC? What's your game?
Look.
How much is the Imperium paying you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The spaceships aren't fast, Kira. They don't go very quick.
Damn it! Oh, I really miss being able to zip around at the speed of sound. Now I don't zip around at all. Never mind at the speed of sound. I just don't do any zipping around.
There's nothing.
I can't.
There's no
Right, so
speed.
that's my rant.
I like it.
Yeah. Oh my god. But like when we played the game, how sluggish did I feel? You felt faster than me, dude.
I did, and it's because it's simplified.
Your army crossed the table faster than mine.
Absolutely simplified.
Your
simple.
army crossed the table faster than mine because it's all infantry, so you could just run through the walls. And I was like, I'm trying to maneuver my tank around this building. And then you were like, can't shoot my Forgefiend. Sorry, buddy. And I was like, damn.
Yeah. And especially with how dense the UKTC, and we had a little sneak preview, and that's now been released. And if you're in our Discord, I think there's a link in there as well of those maps, and it is dense to say the least.
Yeah,
like that is going to be hard for vehicle heavy lists, to put it
I set the table, and I thought like it's gonna be tough, but like I should, because I'm fast, I should be able to make it work. Nope, not at all.
Did you
especially
say
with what you're saying with the Fly?
Yeah. Did you say it's because of knights, maybe, or elder? Or elder doesn't have a problem anyway.
Yeah, perhaps. I need to get Mr. Surge needs to come off the shelf. I think is the solution to this.
Yeah.
Just sit somewhere and just kill everything.
Pew pew.
Yeah. Well, great rant, and thank you all for listening, for joining us. If you're watching us, if you have any comments, let us know what you think about the list. Anything you would change about the list, put it in the comments. Let us know what you think. If you're in our Discord, it'll the link will be in there as well. So comment underneath it. Let us know what you think. Anything else you would change. Let's start a good conversation in the Chaos chat thread as well. Just talking about the list, what people think. It's going to help Fulvio out, and hopefully listening to the list for some of you newer players as well, and for some of you veterans in there as well, helps you think about your own list crafting. And never be afraid to post up your lists in our Discord as well. People are always, unless you're GSC, as I am pretty much the only person that ever chats in the Gene Stealer chat. I've put it out into the void and then just comment on it myself.
He's creating a cannon.
But I think there's one other person in there. That's it.
It's like you and David Brown, who does not play GSC.
I know, but he has some good. He has some good.
He has some good
thoughts,
insights, though. Yeah,
I'm like, that is good. I'm going to steal that.
Write that down. Turns out being good at the game actually helps playing an army well. It's crazy.
Shut up. But yes, thank you everyone. We will be back in another couple of weeks with another podcast and another list. And please join us then.